It's essentially what the Kremlin says, so no surprise, the studio guests agree. Excellent performance, exclaims this editor of a Russian national defense journal. We can only have solidarity with this view, he says. US officials say NATO poses no threat, and this Russian military buildup is unjustified.
Wouldn't it be great if we actually got along with Russia?
For years now, Russia has homed in on controversial praise from the US, including from the former president himself, and often used it to justify its stance at home. Like former President Trump taking the side of Putin over US intelligence agencies on Russia meddling in the US election. Russia denied it. Trump at first agreed.
I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
At the time, even Russian TV anchors seemed surprised.
Of course it was Russia. They had troll farms in St. Petersburg. Of course it was Russia. Russia wanted to tear the United States apart, and Donald Trump was their guy who was going to do it. And look at us now. Look at us now. Actually, you have an entire propaganda channel full of subversives who are watching Russia with artillery and tanks and troops and guns invade their neighbor. And you have Fox hosts sitting on their shows saying Russia is just trying to protect their border. No, Ukraine is trying to protect their border from Russia's invasion, armed invasion, violent invasion with an eye towards killing them so that Russia can take Ukraine. It's exactly the opposite. Russia is invading Ukraine. They are poised to invade Ukraine, which when you put them next to Russia is basically an unarmed nation. Holy crap. How do they get to sell this to the American people so successfully? I don't for the life of me understand. I mean, you can see their tanks, you can see their artillery, you can see their trains are just loaded with shells and gunpowder and ammunition and everything else to invade their basically unarmed neighbor. And somehow you have people rooting for Russia to kill Ukrainians. What? What did Ukrainians ever do to you? That's my question. What did they ever do to you? What have they ever done to Russia? Nothing. Nothing. This is really some sick and twisted crap. So here's Ukraine trying to protect their border from invasion by their nuclear-powered, armed-to-the-teeth neighbor. And you got people saying the exact opposite and believing it or repeating it or trying to make some sort of a case that, yes, it's just like the southern border in the United States. What? Are you freaking kidding me? People are so stupid in this country. Anyway, here's Julia Ioffe. She's a Russian-American broadcaster, and she's watching what's being said on state-run Russian television and what's being run on Rupert Murdoch's channel there, and she can't tell the difference.
Frankly, I can't tell a lot of the times the difference between coverage on Первый канал, the first Channel 1, which is the main state broadcaster in Russia, and Fox News. Like last summer, for example, the coverage on Russian state TV of the Black Lives Matter protests, the social justice, racial justice protests, was that these were all looters, terrorists, that this was all about humiliating white people. Then they picked up the same trope of Biden being barely with it, and this basically, you know, having one foot in the grave and not being really fully cognitively present. You know, and now you have Russian state media echoing a lot of Republican tropes that Democrats are socialists, that they're radicals, that they're about to take the country into, you know, Soviet-style socialism, and Republicans are the only ones who are sane. And then on the Republican side, you saw in 2016, as soon as it became public, you know, that the American intelligence community felt that the Russians helped Donald Trump win the election, approval for Russia, for Vladimir Putin, among self-identified Republicans went through the roof. So kind of makes sense.
How sick, how twisted you people have gotten. How all in a ball and a bunch your brains are. Just scrambled. You're rooting for a Soviet nation to take over a democracy. And comparing that somehow to America keeping their border secure, how in the hell do you get there? It isn't Russia that's protecting their border. It's Ukraine that's protecting their border from Russia's armed invasion with an eye for killing and razing Ukrainian villages. You're insane. You've gone absolutely batcrap insane. Now, I have to tell you, Tom Malinowski, who is a New Jersey representative, he's just a member of the House of Representatives, and he said his phone is ringing off the hook with Fox News viewers telling him to take the side of the Soviets.
It really started yesterday. I was in my district office in New Jersey, and phones were ringing, and my district director came to me and said, I just spent an hour on the phone with like 4 people telling me that they'd watched Tucker Carlson last night, and why are we going to be going to war for Ukraine? Russia's making reasonable proposals for peace, and we should just do what Russia wants.
Oh my
and
God.
you know, I knew this I knew this was happening. I've actually had many conversations with Republican colleagues in the House of Representatives about what's happening on Fox with respect to Russia. But this was the first time I started feeling it from my own constituents who were watching this garbage.
And so, I mean, the line is direct here. Tucker Carlson says something and they parrot it, right?
Yes, and I mean that's not surprising, right? People watch TV and they pick up stuff. And in this case, you know, we have such a partisan media environment where there are some people who only watch people like Tucker Carlson, and that's all they get night after night after night. And he's whipped them up into believing we're going to war, which is, as you just reported, not the case.
Right.
We're not. President Biden is not promising to fight for Ukraine.
Right.
We're just taking the side of a democracy that is being threatened with invasion by a dictatorship.
It's really pretty straightforward, I think. You have a dictatorship that is threatening to invade a democracy that is its neighbor by force with tanks and 100,000 troops. And you're on the side of the Soviets. You're on the side of the people doing the invading. Well, that's really stunning. Stunning. Jimmy in South Carolina.
Yes, how you doing today?
All right.
This is the first time I've ever been on the show, Miss Randi, and I didn't know you was even on TV. I didn't even know you. And just hearing what you're saying is, you think Fox is sitting here saying that we're for Russia, or they're for Russia.
He said it right out there. I didn't say he said it. I played him saying that.
No. It
No?
wasn't the way you put it in there. It didn't even sound like that because I watched that last night. I watch everything. Ukraine does have its right to defend itself. We do need to have our troops on standby to help with NATO.
Okay.
And but there's no way. And you talk about borders, and you say the only thing that's coming across our border is Mexican immigrants with their toddlers. That's a lie too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because immigrants cause so much
they're
crime.
releasing hundreds of male Mexicans
where are the
into our country.
Why don't we see it? How come I don't see it?
I seen it yesterday. I seen it today.
What'd you see?
I seen them getting off the bus.
Yeah,
right
but you
in,
just
taking
said
cabs.
you just said crime. First of all, this has nothing to do with Mexico. Okay, we're talking about an
No,
invasion.
it has to do with the border.
No, it doesn't, because the invader is Russia and the border is Ukraine's, and it's exactly the opposite of what you're talking about. And by the way,
what about our border? And what about our border?
And by the way, he said he's on Russia's side.
Ukraine is ahead of us in the queue for secure borders, and honestly, you can see why.
This is sick. Okay, you understand that this is a sickness. Ukraine is being invaded.
I said that to a caller, a MAGA caller, and I said, you realize they're being invaded. He said, we should be worried about China.
China. Well, if you cave into Vlad, then Xi will take Taiwan, and the entire world will be ruled by autocrats, if you want to talk about China. Okay, everybody, try and get your crap straight. Don't have time to listen to the live show? Want to hear more on your schedule? Go to randyrhodes.com and buy a stinking podcast.